to Roosh Hour number 48. I'm on my brand new rig, guys. I'm on my new live stream computer. Tell me what you think. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Everything is new almost. The camera is new. You can actually see details on the icon now. Mic is the same, but now things, they don't shake as much because the camera is on its own tripod. It's not clipped onto my laptop screen. 24-inch high-resolution monitor. Oh, wow, this is fast. So usually when I live stream, my laptop is going at 30% CPU. That's why it's so laggy and slow whenever I try to play the videos and stuff. This one now, my CPU, it's a Ryzen 5 with a NVIDIA 6GB card. CPU 1.4%. It's not even sweating. Okay, so everyone hears me. Great. Let's get the juice. Coconut water with pulp. You know, I wasn't going to do a live stream today. I was going to settle in with my new computer, set everything up perfectly, but some events have happened. And I hope to make some sense of it. I also bought a whiteboard. I hope this will help me in explaining some difficult concepts. I don't know how I'm going to... Hold on, let me turn up the brightness of my monitor. I can't see anything. Brightness is at 0. It's too low. All right, it's better. So we got the whiteboard going. I don't know how it's going to work. Maybe put it up here. There's some glare. Whatever. All right, so let's get started. That's enough fun. So the topic for today's stream is America is on fire. As you know, riots have begun in Minneapolis. But all is not what it seems. To me, it reeks of coordination, of orchestration. It reeks of the hand of the oligarchs who are now piling on the tribulations and the trauma upon us to break us down, grind us down so that we go along with whatever recommendations and dictates that they put forth. But in the name of completion, let's go over how this started. What was the spark? Okay. The spark was a black man being killed by a police officer. God. Ah. So that's the sound of a black man gasping for air. A police officer has his knee on his neck for it appears to be an extended period of time. You know, I don't know the details of why this started, and you know, I don't think a lot of people who are on the streets burning down stores really care anyway. But so this man died, and whatever his crime was to get executed on the street like a dog, I don't think that fit his crime. But that's what happened there. So as you know, whenever a black man gets killed by a white cop, we have total media outrage. The media starts to agitate, says of the racial injustice, and maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe there's some, but not as much as the media claims. You know, sometimes people profile others due to their behavior. We have some groups that get profiled often. So oftentimes the behavior of a group can contribute to a misinterpretation of character, right? But I don't know, in this particular case, I'm not going to make a judgment call on what the policeman did. It seems excessive from the video. I don't know the whole story, but it seems excessive. Something that is concerning, that warrants an investigation so justice can be applied. That I can agree with. But what I don't agree with is, in the name of this man, in the name of a man who got killed on the streets by a police officer, to go loot and riot. Let's take a look at what's been going on the past couple of days. Just a few clips. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these. Here's a clip from a Target where some young urban men are trying to break into the self-checkout cash registers.
This is literally the craziest stuff I've ever seen right now. This is Target right now.
So I'm surprised that white man didn't get robbed or jacked, but he seems a bit soft. So, is this your response to an unfair system to get the bucks? And here is another one. This was actually, I should have played this one first. This was before the hammers and the fire alarms were going off. So you see they're carting out. That guy has a vacuum cleaner. Let's fast go back. Right there on the right, he has a vacuum cleaner. And on this cart in the middle, I'm looking like a lot of TVs. Thing is, TVs, if you're going to steal, TVs are big, but they're not worth that much anymore. TVs are just, you can probably get a street value of a couple $100. If I was a looter, I'd go for the cameras, but that's just me. So it's pretty casual. I mean, no one's really running away in a hurry. It's just, hey, let's get our free goods. And the looting intensified. Let's take a look at this. I hate to say it, but watching looting videos, there's this train wreck element to them. I don't know. I shouldn't be getting some kind of entertainment value from them, but I seem to be getting just that. So let's see. Let's take another one. It almost looks like they're trying to take the battery case, but they were thwarted by the pylons, the concrete pylons. So I don't think I need to say what is the race of the people who are participating in this. Not because I want to condemn them, but because I'm going to connect some dots later on. But it's mostly black people doing this, in the sense of the base looting. Let's get a free TV. Let's get some free stuff. Now, one thing I have to say about black people that you may not know is that they are hyper materialistic. And by that, I mean, they don't buy into the experiences and travel meme that the whites do. Like, the white people say, oh, experiences are more valuable than stuff and goods. But black people aren't there. They're not in the, we are going to go travel to Italy. We're going to go for a beautiful walk in the park and view a sunset. White people, they do that kind of stuff. But blacks, they like stuff. They display status constantly by the things they own, by their clothing, their cars, their sneakers, even the women, their fake nails and, hair. So so they're very hyper materialistic, the most materialistic people in the United States. So they're always in need of stuff. I'm not complete unless I get more stuff so I can display my status to other people. So now when the opportunity to loot comes, they are the ones that do it first because of their more materialistic nature. Like me, if Target was open, you can take anything that you want from there. Honestly, I don't even know what I would take. It's mostly made in China junk. If I wouldn't steal, but let's just say I could steal any one item I need a rice pot. Like I need one of the ones I was using burned. So I would get like a rice pot. That's what I would steal. So that kind of tells you, that's just, I'm just referring to the mindset of why is this happening? And I know maybe some of you are watching from Europe. You're like, well, this is kind of interesting how one of your races like to do that. And it's like, yeah, because in the United States, due to their cultural influences or whatever you want to attribute it, some say it's their genes. They like stuff. If they can get away with it, they will take things. Not all of them, not condemning them, but a good chunk of them will. So a white woman in a wheelchair, in an electric cart, tried to defend Target's inventory, tried to defend the made in China goods. She was going to make a stand, stop the urban violence. So let's take a look at what happened to her. So here's one video, the first one. So she's blockading the Target exit, and she doesn't want people to steal. I don't know why. Maybe she owns Target stock. Oh, that could be it. And people are getting angry because she's, I hate to use this word, cock blocking. She's blocking their attempts to loot. So here you have a black woman just pound her on the skull. Here we go. Like right there, like pounding her on the skull. And so then some time goes, and let's see what happened to Target's savior. So they're trying to get her to move. She doesn't move. They say she's stabbing people. Then she gets doused with a fire extinguisher. So this is the United States. I saw that and I'm like, wow, that really encapsulates a lot of what is going on. I think the motorized cart was a nice touch because, again, if you're not from here, you come to the U.S., a lot of people shop in these things because, not that they're handicapped, it's they just eat too much. I hate that by talking about this topic, I have to highlight some flaws in other people, but no, I have more flaws than all of them. If anyone needs to condemn, it's me. I don't want to seem like I'm condemning people, but to share what I believe is going on, the truth of what's going on, we have to highlight some bad behavior of other people. But I won't be doxing people or targeting people. I just want to paint a broad brush, right? So this is the United States in 2020. This is where we are at. It's a cop throwing some, I don't know if they're flashbangs or tear gas. Pretty awesome stuff. I mean, in terms of the gear, they look like soldiers, man. Get out of here! Okay. They have the gas masks to fight coronavirus.
Break that shit, nigga! Break that shit!
Okay. So you can sense the anger. Well, that footage is not very good. One thing about what's happened to the police. Now, we're going to get into all the characters involved, but let's start with the police first. As you know, since 9/11, the federal government has had a program to basically militarize the police, to give them unused gear from the Afghanistan and Iraq war, to just give it to the local police that are in your town, to gear up. If you see a policeman now, I'm in the DC area, I'm in the suburbs, and if I happen upon a policeman in a supermarket, he looks like he's huge because he has all this gear. His belt probably weighs 20 pounds. He has various weapons to neutralize me and communications gear. He has, of course, the bulletproof vest. He looks like a soldier. He looks like a soldier. He doesn't seem like a policeman, at least not what we used to think of a policeman. So they've made the policeman into a soldier. Well, when you're a soldier, everyone around you is a potential enemy combatant. Everyone around you is a potential Khabib who has a remote IDF that is going to blow you up. So they've trained these police to become soldiers and to see everyone, but because policemen kill white people too, it isn't just blacks, but to see everyone as an enemy combatant. So it's almost like when you see the police shooting the tear gas, that's what they were trained to actually do, not this local police, community oriented, talking to people, reasoning with people, understanding people in a psychological way, maybe. It's mostly just you have all this gear, you have all the weaponry, and use it. So that's the role that the police play. And well, if you're being chased after by a soldier, you're going to start acting like an enemy combatant. You're going to start acting like a terrorist. And I think a lot of the riders and the looters now, they have to step up their game because they're not dealing with a police officer that's trying to maybe, use just a baton. They're dealing with a police officer is more like a soldier that's using war weaponry to neutralize you. So, both of the roles are being played now, the soldier and enemy combatant. Now, what happened to that target, the one that the white woman in the motorized cart tried to defend? Sadly, it burned down.
It literally dead ass is a movie out here.
Okay. So they burned it down. Now, how burning that target down helps anything, I don't know. But it gets even juicier. They chased the police. Now, this happened in Minneapolis. I used to pronounce that city Minneapolis, but I was corrected by the locals there. Thank you for that. The police in the precinct in Minneapolis, they were chased out by the mob. So let's take a look. This is... So this is like their Saigon moment, where they have to break down their own fence to get out of there. And the crowd is cheering because they know that they won. Now, I'm not a soldier, but can I make a recommendation? If I was in charge here, I would lay two or three cars right here to blockade the street to give cover for all the soldiers escaping on foot. Because right now you see they're completely exposed to debris and bricks. But 3 cars there, they can absorb a lot of that impact and also shield the activity. So here, unfortunately, maybe the policemen, they were in a panic. They couldn't do that. This reminds me of the movie Black Hawk Down, where they try to evacuate the soldiers that were caught in the city, and they had some on foot and some in trucks. So that kind of says a lot. The fact that that scene reminded me of Somalia. Now, it's really sad thing that the target was burned down. Unfortunately, the people who burned the target down, didn't they know that Target loves black people? Here, just a few months ago during African American Celebration Month, Target was sharing on social networking. Together, our team celebrates Black Black History Month. They highlighted, they gave some promo to a black woman and a black man wearing an Africa jacket and another stylish black woman. She said, "I am a first-generation American born to parents who immigrated to the U.S. from Ghana." Okay, that's nice. And but we have to. But the Target burned down by the same people. So didn't they get the memo? Target isn't racist. Don't burn us. We like you. We virtue signaled for you. Why are you burning us down? There must be some misunderstanding. Why was I thrown in the Soviet concentration camp? I really love Lenin and Stalin. If Stalin only knew that I believe in his communist program and mass starvation of the Ukrainian people, he wouldn't put me in this 10-year gulag. So that's what we had. So let's recap so far before the whiteboard has to come out. We got the police killing someone, whether it was white or black, it shouldn't matter, but he killed a black man. The media erupted, a million stories. Coronavirus suddenly wasn't a big story anymore. Coronavirus is basically done. You know, it's like in 1984, we were never at war with coronavirus. We were always at war with racial injustice. So then the media inflamed, and then the protests happened spontaneously. We'll get to that. The Target burned down. Now, what is the response from our leaders, the people who are elected to keep the peace, to keep order and stability? Let's first take a look at the congresswoman from Minneapolis, Ilhan Omar, who belongs in jail, but she's actually in Congress. She tweeted out, "Our anger is just, our anger is warranted, and our priority right now must be protecting one another." Okay, so she is encouraging it. She's not saying stop burning down the Targets, stop looting, stop being violent. She's saying, no, your anger is justified. It's okay. You can do that. And she is supposedly a congresswoman in the upper echelons of power, right? But she tweets out like a basic Twitter personality. How about the mayor? Maybe the mayor has some sense into him. Okay, the mayor, what does he say? Minneapolis mayor says angry response to George Floyd death is right. Well, he responded in the exact same way as the congresswoman. That's weird. After fires broke out following looting near the protests, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said Thursday the response came not just because of 5 minutes of horror, referring to the death of the black man George Floyd, but 400 years. Oh, okay. So because of 400 years of oppression, that's why they looted. So I'm stealing this phone from Target because of what happened 400 years ago, not because I want to use this phone or sell it on the street for $50. So Jacob Free tapped into the mentality of all the rioters, the protesters, because that's what the media was referring to them as. What was the mayor? Now, the city, I have to stress, Minneapolis was burning down. The city is burning. Great disorder, anarchy, bad things happening. And what is the mayor most concerned about? He's concerned that the protesters, quote unquote, are not wearing face masks. He's almost like saying, you want to riot, but please wear the mask. Here's an article. The city government issued a statement on Thursday, and it said, the city encourages everyone to exercise caution to stay safe while participating in demonstrations, including wearing masks and physical distancing as much as possible to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The city has made hundreds of masks available to protesters this week. If you're going to riot, riot, but can you wear the masks? So here you have the city government enabling and almost promoting. I mean, there's silence on this, on not speaking out against the violence and referring to the rioters as protesters. This is promoting. This is lawlessness. And it's just, I haven't seen something so blatant. And the media is also stoking that fire too by saying they're protests, encouraging it. It's racial injustice, y'all. Don't worry about coronavirus now. We have a race problem. It's like one death. Wait, how does that quote go? A million deaths is a statistic referring to the coronavirus, but one death is a tragedy. So this is what the media has done. All these hundreds of thousands of people supposedly dying from coronavirus, whatever. But one black man dies because a white man killed him, and this is it. Don't worry about that other stuff that we had going on. Don't worry about our other psyop. Here's the new psyop to focus on. Now, I couldn't help but notice the mayor's name, Jakob. That's a particular name. Once you become an expert at recognizing names and faces. Here we go. Meet the Jewish mayor in the middle of the Minneapolis mail store. And he has this really soft face that reminds me of Justin Trudeau in Canada. So, so this is, where's my director confirmed? So when you are in communion with Satan, you bring lawlessness and death and violence. I don't think I have to rehash that argument today. So, to people who are watching, it may make sense. Like, oh, that guy's Jewish? That confirms everything I know. But for some of you, like, so what? So what? So what, he is Jewish? Well, then you have to watch my interview with Dr. E. Michael Jones 2 streams ago. Read the book, The Jewish Revolutionary Spirit, the people who are responsible for killing Christ, in knowledge of it, knowing that he's the Messiah that is promised. Well, once you do that, there's only one way to go, and that road is super evil. And, someone did comment that, well, the Romans, the Gentiles, killed Christ too. Yes, but in ignorance. And there's a difference. You killed Christ in ignorance. You didn't know. But yes, the Gentiles commit sins too. So I, as a Gentile, am not a sinless person. So let's take a look at what the media is, how is the media portraying this? Now this, you may have seen that meme of everything is fine here. Let me pull that meme up. Since I have a fast live streaming rig, thanks to your super chat money, I can do searches and not have it take forever. Okay, everything is fine. Meme, GIF. No, not that one. What's the Naked Gun one? Naked Gun, meme, fine, GIF. I think I got it. It's like things are exploding. Okay, here it is. So here's the meme I was talking about. Nothing to see here. So behind him, there's a building on fire exploding. People are running away. And Lieutenant Drebin, Frank Drebin, is saying, hey, everything is fine. That's often used meme. The real thing happened. Let's take a look at what actually happened, courtesy of MSNBC. Let's watch this.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd that is. I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest.
Mostly a protest.
It is not.
So there's again, his physiognomy is particular. I'll leave it at that. There's a bald man, standing in front of a inferno with a lot of shady people walking behind him. And he's trying to assure the viewer that it's mostly peaceful. Everything is fine.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
What does that mean? It's not, generally speaking, unruly.
But fires have been started, and there's a crowd that is...
Oh, my goodness, man. I mean, if that doesn't convince you right there that the media is the enemy of the people, then nothing will. I mean, he's lying to you. He's lying. I mean, he's standing in front of a fire and saying everything is basically fine. They're protests. I mean, this is... I don't know what other word you can use. It's lying. It's extreme lying. And yet, this is the media that we have in the United States. Now, there were some claims being thrown around that, you know, maybe this wasn't as organic as people thought. Here we have a tweet that says, the Minneapolis chief of police just confirmed that many of the protesters that are burning down the city are not from Minneapolis. Okay, that's interesting. What else is going on? We have a video of a man very methodically destroying the windows of an AutoZone. Let's take a look at this.
That's why I'm doing this, you guys. What the?
So you have a man with an umbrella, gas mask, all black, tactical boots, breaking windows, not a part of any protests or anyone, and he actually gets stopped of doing that. Well, now one confirmation, someone contacted a woman who claims to be his ex-wife and said that man in the video is a police officer of St. Paul, which is the city next to Minneapolis. Could be. But that is kind of weird. Why would a police officer be taking... And the way the man looks... Now, you're probably wondering, why does he have the umbrella? The umbrella is to block video cameras from the telephone poles and video cameras that are above him. Completely suited up, you know, in this kind of tactical look when most of the rioters look like bums. It's weird, you know. So they said, okay, that's actually a St. Paul police officer. And then there was another comment on my forum. Let's pull that up. And the comment says, yeah, Umbrella Man moves with way too much specific purpose to be a protester. Plus, he's carrying an umbrella to block overhead video cameras. He shows up alone with a hammer, smashes the windows, and hurries away. He's wearing tactical boots and covered from head to toe when most are wearing shorts. And he did this very early in the protesting when people were still startled by glass smashing. It's extremely fishy. I agree with that. Something fishy is going on. Now let's look at the result of all this. You know, you think, well, we're going to stick it to the white man. We're going to burn down our neighborhood to stick it to the white man, to stick it to Trump. But the human impact of it is not so black and white. In the sense of, let's take a look at this sad clip.
Today we found core boy Bala, who invested his life savings into opening this sports bar, cleaning up. While our camera was there,
oh, let me turn it up. So okay.
Boy Bala, who invested his life savings into opening this sports bar, cleaning up. While our camera was there, looters came back to try to steal his safe.
Right, trying to steal the safe.
I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna work so hard to get here. So hard.
So this man, first after being squeezed by Bill Gates, having his business probably on the verge of death because of Bill Gates and his social distancing, the face mask. After that, these lockdowns seemingly coming to an end, maybe I can salvage the business. Then come the riots to be the second, hammer upon this man. Now he's just done. And it wasn't only in Minneapolis that things have been going on. Let's take a look at Columbus, Ohio. I was there last year. It's one of the gayest cities I've ever been, surprisingly. Very gay. I don't know, my volume is kind of off there. So, pretty big, violent mob is immediately going to the bashing of the windows. This is the Ohio State House. Not really a big crowd, maybe 30, 40. Now, why aren't they looting? Why aren't they robbing Targets? Why are they bashing a government building? Because the government buildings are very symbolic. Someone who wants to make a statement usually go after government buildings. Someone who wants free stuff goes after Target. But usually I think I've established that if you're a low-income black with a propensity to loot, you're going to loot. You're not going to go for the State House. So that's a little fishy to me. Well, it's during these times where I'm very thankful that we have female police officers to keep the peace, because without them, then, you know, we would be in complete anarchy. So let's take a look. You know, this is something that not a lot of people caught, but I'm going to show you what accidentally happened, what a female police officer did. So this is in New York, and you got the typical crowd. So one thing I have to say, they're wielding batons. Now these are hard steel. They look like just little clubs, but they are very painful. If you get hit on the head, you can die. I mean, these are serious things. Okay, now the female police officer in question is coming into view. Okay, do you see her? Do you see this female police officer who is trying to appear useful? Now keep an eye on her and the baton on her right hand. Okay, she's holding it up. Now, behind her is two of her fellow police officers. These two white men are actually cops. Now look what happens to the man on the right. Boop. She hits him with a baton. Now you're probably thinking, well, that was just a soft tap. These are hard steel. There's no soft tap. Right? Bloop. And he turns around. He's like, what are you doing? So it is my opinion that if you have a country where females are police officers, you're on the downswing. I see no reason for it. This is the dumbest thing you can possibly do. You know, here this poor man was subject to friendly fire. But sadly, even in Eastern European countries, seeing female police officers are very common. If your country has a female police officer, the end is nigh. I mean, there's no way around it. If you've lost that much sense, that much truth to the natural order, you're done. If you have a female policeman and then firemen, of course, your society is lost. It is inverted totally. That's the indicator. To have a female police officer. Now, I know you're thinking, well, Roosh, we've had female police officers for decades now. Exactly. The rot is deep, and it's been going on for a long time. Okay, so I gave a pretty good overview of what the riots were about, and it's happened in a lot of other cities too. It happened in Washington, D.C. a bit, where, again, it was fake. It wasn't the looting. It was, let's go to the White House. Now, a lot of, when I'm watching this, keep thinking a lot of the footage, I kept thinking, this looks like Antifa. This really looks like them. I don't have any evidence. I don't have hard proof and identities. But from my experience, it looks like them. Because it is them. So who do I believe is behind this? Well, this is what is going on in some ways. Here you have Dr. Evil making a phone call saying the pandemic isn't working anymore. Go ahead and start the race war. This meme was close, but it's really the rioting, the looting, the racial agitation was part of the overall plan. So we, us peons at the bottom, we don't see what those at the top are really doing. So they were doing a 1-2 combination punch. They knew that in the summer, people are going to get tired of the lockdown. So we're going to now fill that vacuum of strife with something else. And this is what the something else is, because just about every other week, there's a white man somewhere in the world, in the U.S. is killing killing a black man. So it's really when the media decides to make it a national issue or not. And the time was right here, because as you see, the lockdowns were starting to come down. They needed something else to keep the momentum for their chaos going. So this is who I believe are the two men who are really in charge, calling the shots for a lot of what you're seeing in the United States. So you have Bill Gates. He's on the on one side, and George Soros is on the other side. Now, if you notice, during the coronavirus lockdown, George Soros was basically quiet. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Why is he so quiet? Because him and Bill, they're basically on the same level. I think George is a little bit above him, but why is George so quiet? It's because he was planning stage 2. That's why. So he was involved in his own project. So now this is when I bust out the whiteboard, because I'm going to show you how I see this. All right, let's get this going. So who is at the very top? Now, who controls this world? If you're a Christian, I think Satan does. So Satan is at the top. So that's Satan. Yeah. Is that small? Maybe a little bit small. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna draw a little bit bigger. Under Satan is his number one human lieutenant, the person who Satan is most in communion with. I often call this, I got this from David Icke, the word is spider. So then we have the spider. Oh, I'm a good drawer. So we have the spider here. And the spider is not a good guy either. So a lot of people see the spider as maybe the Rothschilds and so on. It could be. It's really the elite banking families that don't have to go on the CBS interviews, don't have to give interviews for the New York Times. They have better things to do than talk to a journalist like Bill Gates and Soros does. So then who is under them? I believe pretty close. You have you got Bill here. Vaccine Bill. And then you got Soros. Bezos is one of them too. You don't get to make $100 billion unless you're close to the spider. Let us put it there. So these are the high-level henchmen. All right. These are the men that they're in public. Think of them as the bag man. They're the ones that interface with the spider and then direct commands downwards to who? To the various NGOs, institutions, academies, the science, the farmers, all the corporations. Let's do Fortune 500 and the CIA, NSA, FBI. Now, a lot of the secret stuff is black ops, and black ops is basically when a government institution on its own can figure out a way to make money that gives it immunity to prosecution. So one example is the DEA selling firearms to the Mexican cartel, which I believe the CIA is involved in too. So they don't have to put that on the books. Hey, we're the CIA and we make $100 million a year selling firearms to the Mexican cartel to further our agenda in this way, or so on. In the CIA, in the NSA, and FBI, things are so compartmentalized that the CIA in one department can be doing some really evil stuff, and in the next department, they're just surveying satellites or something. So this is, kind of, we'll just give the label deep state, right? Then you have the managers and so on that go underneath that. You have the technocrats, oftentimes they work for as executives and so on. So you got the technocrats and the bureaucrats, the managerial elite. Did I spell that right? Yeah. So they're the ones that do the interviews. They're the ones that are the mayors, the governors. Now, it's so weird how you have the mayors acting in lockstep with what the globalist agenda is. So what I see the mayors as basically actors. The mayors are the actors in the commercials. They're the lowest level. The governors are actors in the TV shows. They're a little bit above them. Their pay is greater. And now the governors, they need more of the sexual prostitutes, and they need more money to do the bidding of the evil ones. Then above them is the senators and the Congress people. They may need a child to molest and so on. The senators are basically the Hollywood movie stars. They're the ones who are up there who, they need more than just a prostitute every now and then. Like, say, Elliot Spitzer. He was an attorney general on the tier of the mayors. So the higher up you go, the more rewards those people seek. So they want more money, more sex slaves, and so on. So you got that. And then where am I going with this? What comes after? What comes under that? Then we have the useful. I'm going to put the media somewhere. Where can I put the media? I think the media is actually under them. Let's put the media here. But they're all, I'm going to put the media as just another branch, really. They're all the same in the sense of they get their marching orders from the institution. So the media. Okay. So then what's under them is those who are directly influenced by the policies and the propaganda of this tier. And that would be the useful idiots. Okay. So we got the useful idiots are who? We got the blacks. We got the liberals, let's say white liberals. We got the homos. We got the poo-poo and the pee-pee. Wait, hold on. No, that's the other way around. Pee-pee and poo-poo. That's, you have the gays. Pee-pee and poo-poo. So now these are the useful idiots that are kind of doing the bidding of the tier above them, but they do it in the motivations for every tier is different. So let's take a look at the top tier. What's the motivation of Satan? To spite God, to feel like he is a God himself. What's the motivation of the spider? To be the ruler of the planet. I mean, the power, I would imagine the dopamine of being in charge of billions of people is pretty intense. What is the motivations of Bill Gates, Soros, and Bezos? Well, we know these guys have no control over their passions. Bill Gates was on Epstein's jet. Bezos threw away his faithful wife for a Hollywood D-list star with fake lips once he got involved with Amazon producing Hollywood stuff. Soros is connected to this witchcraft lady. His son is involved in a lot of bad stuff too. I think for them, it's a combination of power, sex slaves, money. Then under them, what motivates, the Fortune 500 companies, mostly the money. Well, let's just say. So the point I'm trying to get across is the motivations are going to be different. The higher up you are, the more intense it is. Now let's look at the bottom. What is the motivation of the pee-pee and the poo-poo? They just want to keep doing that. They just want to keep doing that and keep spreading AIDS and to read to children, to groom them. That's their motivation, mostly of a sexual thing. The liberals, the motivation for them, the white ones, is to virtue signal. I'm a good person. I care about other people. So it's just fake altruism. And the motivation of the blacks is televisions and vacuums. So I think I've created a simple story, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's not all spontaneous. There's layers involved. So now with this chart in mind, let's do the same for the riots that we are seeing now. Where's my eraser? Yeah. So to start a riot, you really need 4 things, okay? You need, actually 3, and then I'll talk about one more. You need a spark, you need kindle, you need fuel. So I've tried to make a fire, and it's not as easy as you think. So you have the big logs. Actually, I can change colors. Oh, I don't have brown. Where's my top of the black one? I lost it already. It's gonna dry out now. Oh, there it is. All right, so you have the logs at the bottom, and there's many ways to do a fire. Let's just stack them, right? And then you put the kindling. The kindling is the little pieces of wood that catch fire quickly. So you put those up top, right? So it's like the leaves and stuff. So that's up top. And then you need a spark. So you need like a fire to start it all up. Now, when you make a fire, you have to have, usually people think you just need to put big logs and starts. No, those logs, for them to burn, takes a lot of kindling. You really have to have a lot of leaves or unless you're really good at starting fires. I'm not, but I need a lot of kindling. So you light the fire, the kindling heats up, and then after time, it takes a while, the fuel starts to burn. You can have a big fire, but you don't have a big fire from the kindling. You have a big fire from the logs. So what is the spark in this case is the cops. The cops using military type tactics to police, seeing everyone as an enemy combatant. So you have the police as the spark. Kindling is the hired goons. You have the Antifa, you have the Soros goons. The first people you see in any riot, if you notice on the videos, are not black. They're usually this vague multicultural mix. They are actually hired. They are getting paid. My mom actually was watching a protest somewhere. He's like, son, why are they so white? I said, because they are being paid. And she's like, oh, yeah. And then the logs are the useful idiot. In this case, in the riots, it's the blacks. So they are the fuel. And the oxygen, you need oxygen. Who's the oxygen? The media. So they're the ones that fan things, right? So this is how the riots work. So you have the police do something stupid because they were trained to be like soldiers. Then the media comes like, oh yeah, so they blow the air onto the kindle, which is Antifa and the goons, the hired goons, and some of them are just really criminal type of people, and they break the windows, really just act like jerks. And then the blacks, who some of them, not all, but some of the low-income blacks, they are itching to loot. Instead of having a coon brain, they have a loot brain. So they're like, oh, can we loot without getting caught? So that's what, unfortunately, the only barrier to some people not committing crimes is if they think they can get caught. So once they see all the Antifa goons and the Soros goons doing like, oh, I think I can steal this TV and I'm not going to get caught, then the blacks come. Then once that ignites, then you don't need the Antifa anymore. Then they are suddenly gone. Then the protest turns from being multicultural and a little bit white to all black. So that's what I've been seeing the past couple of days. Hold on, I want to draw some more fire squiggly lines. So you have to understand that you need every piece to have a riot. So those who are saying it's only the blacks, they're a big part of it. They're the fuel that really burns things down, but they alone cannot act. Why? Because they don't want to get caught. Why aren't people looting in my neighborhood now? Why haven't they been doing that? Because they haven't been kindled. There hasn't been a spark. There hasn't been kindle. But what the media does, there's a lot of sparks and they try to blow air, but sometimes it doesn't catch because Soros doesn't like the timing. He's just priming us for the riots. So this is it, this is it. So really, how do you stop this? Well, if you want to stop, this can be stopped by, getting the police not to kill so many, apprehended suspects. That would be a good start. But because they are trained to do that, that's going to be hard. So I would say focusing on the media, which Trump has been doing. But as you see, Trump, he sends tweets against the media and it feels all good, but a black person is killed in blanket coverage and Trump is totally helpless, right? And you have, who pays? Okay, so then we have to think now, where does Antifa get its money from? Now, let me erase this. I put a lot of thought into where, so where do they get the money from? So I believe it's something like this. So you have Soros at the top, then this middleman, shadowy groups that could include parts of the FBI, then give the money to the Antifa. So I believe there's a middleman somewhere that I think that the Antifa is included in the Black Ops budget of at least the FBI. This is why, and you're like, how can that be? During the inauguration of Donald Trump, there was rioting by Antifa going on. They did what? Break windows, do mayhem, what they're doing now. Trump, the Justice Department charged dozens of them, and the names on the those who were apprehended are who you think it is. But the case was in court for a year, then all charges dropped, all of them. Why? Because Antifa is a Fed operation. Yes, I know that's hard to believe, but it is. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's going to really confuse you. All the four elements of what I just showed you, the media, the police, the Antifa, and the blacks at the bottom, they're essentially controlled by the same force. So basically, the police fighting the blacks, the media sometimes fighting with the police, they're all controlled by the same person. How's that for being a puppet master? So you have the police are ultimately controlled by the mayor. The mayor is controlled by the Soros, the open society types. The black people are steered by the left, who are controlled by Soros. The media too. So they're all the same organism fighting itself, but to a normie, it's like they're all different, completely separate groups. They're all the same group. Now, a police officer may not know that that the media is being funded by the same groups that are funding his training. He doesn't know that. That's why they say it's called a useful idiot, because they don't know that they're controlled by the same spider. A puppet master has many strings on his puppet he can control. So he's doing all these. If I was Soros, why would I count on a faction I don't control to usher in the revolution? No, I'm going to count on all the factions that I control, get them fighting with each other, breed the chaos that I need to usher in the next stage of the revolution, to totally subvert society and create a hell for the spider who is in communion with Satan to destroy humanity. So it's all controlled by the same, if you go up, higher you go, you see it's all controlled by the same group. So to say that these riots are staged would be an understatement. It's funny when these riots came, I don't know why, but I remembered something that happened 4 years ago. and it popped in my mind. And I found the news article. Why is my volume so loud? All right, let's take a look at this. Here we have a headline. Lead organizer who shut down the highway to Trump rally is a Soros fellow from New Orleans. So here we have what happened in Fountain Hills, Arizona several years ago, where protesters blocked the highways. This is when that highway meme started. They were blocking highways. And here's a picture of it. You have a Latina, her neck is chained. She's not wearing a choker. She chained her neck to a door. And look how strong and confident she is while doing that. Now, it turns out that she was on the payroll of what's called a Soros Fellow. She is a trained community organizer. And whenever you hear community organizer, you have to substitute that with community agitator. And I can't help but, I don't want to comment on the sexual projection of what she's doing, but anyway, I'll let you figure that out. So it turns out that when the highways started, Black Lives Matter started shutting down highways. That was a Soros thing. He started that. His group started that. In their think tanks, they're like, let's do this. So whenever you see a road being shut down, that is George Soros. That is his fingerprints. That's his thing. Think of it as his calling card. So just know that he's a dirty guy. There's nothing off limits to him. I mean, I am, again, it's hard to see what those at the top are doing. We're at the bottom and we're just trying to get a glimpse. It's like trying to see a bird up on a tree. It's very difficult. Sometimes you just catch the brief glimpse, but the shadow is off, the bird is dark. But I am very confident that this rioting is orchestrated by Soros, and unfortunately the useful idiot blacks, they got involved because they want to loot a TV and just watch the world burn. Yeah, some people just want to watch the world burn. There's a YouTube channel of a guy who destroys trucks. He puts wagon wheels on trucks and just destroys them. And he gets a lot of views, but it's so sad because you have a machine that was produced. It works. It could be a work of beauty, let's say. And there's someone just destroys it. There's something demonic about that. So that's what I believe is going on. Now, I expect some of these protests to continue. I don't think they're done with it yet. And you're probably wondering, why are they doing this? How does this help? Well, right now, the oligarchs at the top, the only game plan they know is chaos. The only game plan they know, they believe they can take advantage in any chaotic situation. So they're just breeding nonstop chaos. That's their whole plan. And if you think of it, the opposite of chaos is what? Order. Order comes from God. So it makes sense. Okay, they can justify by saying, well, if there's chaos, then people are going to stay home and not vote for Trump. They can get some political hack to justify it. But their only game plan since the revolution in France is chaos. That's it. Break down the traditional order, break down the relationships between man and woman, get all these groups fighting with each other, invent racism, communism, all this stuff. That's all they know. Chaos. If you see chaos, Satan is there. And who are the human representatives of Satan on earth? The ones that we know of: George Soros, Bill Gates, and so on. Now, if these protests come to you, I know you're going to think, well, I want to go and film it, get some clicks, but just be very careful. What they do, they put themselves in front of your car. Some of them have been shooting at cars. It's not worth it for the footage. And I'm actually talking to myself more than I am to you, because it is tempting. You know, I have a social media platform. I can get some views and dopamine by doing this, but it's probably better just to let the rioters do the rioting. You are not needed to film anything. There's going to be 100 people that are going to film it. So I advise you not to film. Now, one trend I'm noticing in the past year is that black people are not as scared of cops. I'm not saying you should be scared of cops to fear them, but they don't respect cops anymore. They've been attacking them. So let's take a look at 2 videos. One just happened, I think, a couple of days ago, where a black woman punched a white police officer in the face. So let's take a look at this. So here the woman, she's kind of big, and the white man tries to hold on to her, and here it comes. She hits him, slaps him, slap, and then like an idiot, he's like, wow, did I just get slapped? He takes his eyes off his target, and she hits him again. Boom, another one. And then the black police officer from behind swings at her jaw, and let's see what happens next. She falls down. And yeah, let's watch that again. I mean, this is, you know, slapping the police officer is, there will be consequences. Boom. That is not good. I wouldn't hit a cop. I mean, that's just, anyway. Okay, so then not far from me in Washington, D.C., there was some kind of brawl where the cops got no respect. Many urban youth were just piling on them, trying to tackle them. So let's take a look at this. And I have to apologize in advance for the vocal commentary that is on this. So that voice you hear is a woman advising the urban youth to help defeat the cops. I mean, if you're a cop, this is like your worst nightmare. It's just a brawl. I mean, this is wild stuff. So the cops eventually get the upper hand. But if you're a cop and you watch, I mean, this video is probably going to be part of a training video in the future, because their guns are exposed. People are tackling them. I mean, you can get killed very, very easily. So there's a strain. So the media is bombarding. You know, it's weird because there has to be a little bit of truth in what the media is saying about cops. There has to be. And I think if you look at the facts, the police are, they have lost control of the line of authority that they apply. They're really kind of gone mad, I think. And for me, what lost the police in my corner was them enforcing Bill Gates's dictates when it came to wearing masks and shutting down stylists and barbers, and just really being a tool of the globalist elite. And I think they always were, but it's just more obvious. So, you know, I don't want to see cops get killed, but I don't want to see anyone else get killed either. But it's hard to defend cops. It's hard. You know, maybe if this happened a couple of years ago online, there'd be a trending hashtag Blue Lives Matter. We love our cops, but you don't see that now. I think cops have to accept that people hate them now. It's not just blacks. You know, I don't respect cops because of who they serve. You know, who do they serve? The liberal mayors, the mayor like of Minneapolis that you saw. You know, they follow whatever Bill Gates says. They are going to do it. You know, I don't want complete chaos and anarchy. We need police. I'm not saying this because I don't want any police and I want to be lawless. We need police, but we need good police officers, not the ones that we have now that are just basically in it for a paycheck. So they're not the most sympathetic people. The media, of course, they're not sympathetic either. The black people who are fighting with the cops and, you know, doing criminal acts, they're not sympathetic either. Donald Trump is not that sympathetic. He seems, I don't know, he's lost or something, or he can't handle the sheer amount of attacks that he is getting. So I'm looking at the landscape and there's no one I like. I mean, there's no one that I'm trying to root for. So I wonder if you're like me and just kind of sitting in the comfort of your home watching the world burn. And I don't want to see it burn, but things are so broken. There's no hero here. There is no hero. So let's go to the Scorpion analysis. And this is the wise elder on Roosh V forum. And he usually posts some good things. Usually whenever a new article comes, I'm like, where is Scorpion? We need to make sense of this with a Scorpion post. Okay, so his post is a little bit long. I'm going to fast. Okay, I'm going to start on the third paragraph. Man has an innate religious impulse, and man's wicked heart desires more than anything else to believe itself to be good. This is why almost every false religion has the same core message. If you follow our teachings and work long and hard to purge yourself of your evil ways, you will reach a higher spiritual state and become a good person. Note how true Christianity carries the exact opposite message. You are a bad person and will remain a bad person despite your best efforts. Only Christ can redeem you from your sins. As Christianity has receded from the West, this pernicious egalitarian religion has moved in to fill the gaps. And what makes it so dangerous and seductive is that its adherents are so vocal, uncompromising, and zealous in their belief that they are fighting for ultimate good. I'm reminded of John 16:2. The time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God service. These people are dangerous and delusional. They believe they are righteous. They believe they are serving their God of equality and promoting peace on earth. They are foolish beyond words, captive to a strong delusion, their eyes covered in scales. They are our countrymen and our curse. They are vessels of God's wrath, and most are beyond redemption at this point. They would sooner see this country burn to the ground than give up belief in their false God of equality. There will be no peaceful accommodation. There is no possibility of long-term coexistence. This is a religious death cult that will not rest until the country as we know it is destroyed. And the descendants of the white people who founded it are impoverished, humiliated, and killed. The fact that so many of these people are also white does not matter. Their delusions will persist until the end, when the monster they've nourished rips them to pieces as well. They will relish dying as a martyr for their faith because only death will purge their existential guilt. They seek it for themselves as well as for us. This is the terminal decline of the greatest civilization that has ever existed. This is the story of a people who have forgotten who they are. This is the West without Jesus Christ. Amen. And the problems are so entrenched, so deep that sometimes I wonder if the best thing I can do is really just sit here, talk in front of a screen, and sip on my coconut juice. So for those of you who want to know where I got this, it's from rooshvforum.com. Yes, I have a forum, and there's a lot of members on there that are very, what is a good word I can use? High impact, high knowledge, great. So anyway, so one of the members that consistently shares good analysis is Scorpion. So if you go on the forum, you can look for him. Okay, so that's what I have to say about the riots. I hope that the whiteboard I brought out really elucidated and edified you. But I see this as, now, I know some people online are going to say Roosh is giving a pass to blacks. Listen, I live around a lot of blacks. Let me tell you what happened last night. It was 4 a.m. I am asleep, trying to get some good rest so I can do a live stream the next day. And I hear bass like 4 a.m. And I'm thinking, and I get up. I'm like, where is that coming from? It wasn't coming from inside. It was coming from outside. I look out the window and there was a black man in his car with his door open, blasting the music, hip hop. I'm like, ugh. The only thing missing from that scene was me smelling the weed. But, I'll be honest to you, low-income blacks are very annoying. I'll say it. They are annoying. They're very loud, and the drug use is a little bit high. I haven't been impacted in a criminal way lately by them. So I'm not even talking about the rioting and the looting. They're just difficult to live around. I'll just, if you want to call me a racist, that's fine. I'm just telling you the truth of it. They're loud people. They are full of passion. When I lived in Poland, I had an apartment across from a bar. So this was, a nightlife area. There were people congregating outside, but they were never so loud. You just close the window, you won't hear a thing out of the poles. But here, you close the window, you feel like you're in a nightclub. And the hip hop, man. Again, the thing is, I can be honest, I don't hate black people. I just don't want to live close to them. I mean, because they're loud and I do work that requires silence. And there was a time when I saw a gospel concert and it was a great thing. People, shouting Christ and on, dancing. But I'm looking at all the people, they are listening to the gospel, they're moving their body and dancing. And I compare it to the liturgy in my church where everyone is completely still. No one moves. So something about the black nature, they just move. They just want the music and the passion, and you combine the Western hyper materialism that they've been infected with, the loot brain, and you get what we see now. So they can be easily harnessed. Unfortunately, they can be easily harnessed to listen to music, follow sports. I mean, it sucks. It sucks. I wish it wasn't like that. I hope they can. I think if you really are not happy with black people, you should pray for them, that they can be enlightened, that they can get out of this grip, this secular grip that, let's be honest, the sports and the sneakers are, they cater to them, advertise to them, the songs, and who owns the hip hop? Who puts all that stuff out? I think we know. So I see them again. I'm not mad at them. They're not creating this, but they're the useful idiots, and they need to try a little bit harder, just like we have to try harder too, not to be influenced badly by these satanic influences that unfortunately are growing all around us. And unfortunately with that statement, I just lost the last black person who watches me. I'm not a racist, man. Okay. So that concludes the riot segment. Now I have some odds and ends that I wanted to go over. One is there's been some activity in the censorship front online where Twitter actually had the balls to censor a Trump tweet. So here you have Donald Trump doing what he does best. He sent a tweet saying, "There is no way that mail-in ballots will be anything less than substantially fraudulent. Mailboxes will be robbed, ballots will be forged, and even illegally printed out and fraudulently signed. The governor of California is sending ballots to millions of people." Now, he is correct. We know the Democrats are dirty snakes, and they probably rigged the last election, but Trump won in such a landslide that even their rigging failed. So, but look what is underneath Trump's tweet. It says, "Get the facts about mail-in ballots." What? What is that? And then if you click that, you see fact checking from CNN, Washington Post. And here, Twitter Safety said, "We added a label to Donald Trump's tweets to enforce civic integrity." Okay, so they're censoring, they are putting fact checks. And I'm sure you've seen this on YouTube too, where they put underneath, "Here's the truth about COVID-19 from the World Health Organization in China." So they decided that they're going, because, you know, one thing you have to understand, they wouldn't have to do this if their victory was solid. They don't have to censor, they don't have to push the riots, push the pandemic, if they were already winning anyway. So in some cases, it's a good sign that you see this. That means they are getting desperate, and they're getting desperate because they know that they are losing. But the bad news is we have to endure it anyway. So what was, and let's take a look at who was in charge of the civic integrity. Who is in charge of putting that fact check on Donald Trump's tweets. And here we have, well, his face. Let's take a look at his face. Looks very particular. What is his name? Yoel Roth. Tractor confirmed. So here we have a tractor in charge of basically censoring or, trying to pollute Donald Trump's facts, trying to spread lies. So when the head of fact-checking is a you-know-what, you're not going to get a lot of facts. All right, there we go. So then, Donald Trump came back and he said that I'm going to do an executive order, remove the safe harbor where they can't say whatever they want. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Until then, in the meanwhile, so when Trump talks, he gets fact checked. The president of the United States can't even tweet anymore. He gets fact checked by a tractor. But let's see what the liberal leftists, what they're allowed to say. Here we have Olivia Goatwood. She has a tattoo on her arm. That's all that you need to know. Her tweet is, "Burn it down, F property, F cops." In the meanwhile, here is a tweet this is another tweet that Donald Trump sent, where his tweet violated Twitter rules of glorifying violence. But this doesn't, and it got 1,800 likes, so it's not like it was underneath the radar. 2,100. Olivia Goatwood. Who is that? Let me see. Olivia Goatwood. Okay, I'm sure she's someone important. These tweets are protected. I wonder why. Now, so you have that. So now we have a lot of stuff going on. Let me I kind of want to use the whiteboard again. Okay, let's list all the ways that society is falling apart. There's my marker. God, it's so hard to take off the top. So we have the pandemic going on. Now we got summer riots coming up. We have the presidential fraudulent election where Donald Trump could lose. So you got that election. And I really didn't need to bring the whiteboard out for that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Okay. There was something else I was going to say too. Oh yeah, we have the economic collapse that is going on of 35 million people out of work. Half of small businesses are basically kaput. So really, and you think, please, no more pain. Well, I expect at least 2 or 3 more big bombs. And, something like the Yellowstone erupting in a massive earthquake that takes out several states would just be something like that. But, we really don't have a natural disaster to complete the total chaos that is going on. But at the same time, all this is happening, I'm at home chilling, doing a stream. As long as you don't mind being at home all the time, either due to the fake plague or the stage looting or the riots, life isn't that bad. I, for one, love my home prison. But what I expect is more hits to keep on coming, because the powers of evil have the momentum. They're really pushing it now. So they're going to let the riots, I'm guessing, okay, so I would say June, maybe riots will continue here and there. I don't, it's hard to say what the plan of the oligarchs are, but I would anticipate keep this in the news for a little while. Then let's have a resurgence of COVID-19. Yeah, let's get that back. Okay. And then we need something, Trump's the election is coming and Biden is not a good candidate. We're going to need some more chaos. So I expect a lot more chaos. It's going to be a wild 5 months till the presidential election. And if things are going the way it is, the more chaos can be found after that. If Trump wins, I would expect more chaos than we have ever seen. One thing I noticed that now in the meanwhile, 5G towers are getting built everywhere. Who knows what kind of toxic stuff they're putting into our food now that corporations control more and more of the food supply. What is the NSA up to? We haven't heard out of them. Whenever news like this is going on, it gives other powers free reign to do a lot of stuff that flies under the radar. So here we have an article that says NSA social network mapping is more vast, omnipresent, and horrifying than Snowden revealed. If we didn't already have enough problems, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this kind of caught my eye. Pre-computation. Pre-computation, what's that? Okay. Term pre-computation, the idea was and is to create a constant, complex, 24/7 live, ever-updating social graph called graph in memory of every U.S. citizen and a large number of non-citizens and international citizens. Gellerman writes, all kinds of secrets, social, medical, political, professional, were pre-computed 24/7, a database that was pre-configured to map anyone's life at the touch of a button. And it goes on, nearly anyone in the developed world can be linked to at least one fact in a computer database that an adversary could use for blackmail, discrimination, harassment, or financial or identity theft. Now, what does this mean? Pre-computation. It's just a fancy way of saying cached. So all information about you, more than you know was out there, is cached on a database, ready to be assembled instantly. It just takes an analyst, an NSA analyst or a CIA one, to go type your name, and before him, without having to wait, no lag, just like when you do a Google search. So it's basically a Google search on your life. Without any lab, everything that could possibly be helpful to them, but it's going to be everything. So everything about you that you have voluntarily given through your use of Android, iPhone, Windows 10, any kind of computer, you use the postal system, anything. I mean, it's basically man trying to become God. And they are getting closer and closer because we are using the tools that they want us to use. But this kind of the way they termed it, it's like it's already assembled, but no one saw it. It reminds me of Schrodinger's cat. So is the cat dead or not? I'm not going to get into what that is, but if you know Schrodinger's cat. They put the cat in a box where it's once you open the box, the cat is dead, but you don't know when it's dead. Anyway, so that's what it is. So they have your profile ready to go, slave, and if you act up or if you're causing them some kind of threat, then they're going to figure out how to get you, what your passions are, what the blackmail, what crimes you are busy committing, how many televisions you stole out of Target. But the joke is on them, because I know God can see me, so I'm not going to commit crimes just because I don't think the government can catch me. I don't commit crimes at all because I know God can see me at all times. And I'm sorry, authorities, but you are not God, and you don't have a mandate to usurp his role. All right, now let's get into some fun stuff. Let's get into some fun stuff. You know, it's kind of a bummer sometimes talking all this bad news. But one thing I can tell you, I mean, there's going to be so much bad news coming that it's going to be hard not to stay engrossed in it. And for your own mental sanity, I definitely think that I may need to regulate how much bad news, because we're so connected now that it's just easy to consume news. So, okay, you're not consuming porn, that's good. And consuming news isn't as bad as porn, but it still gets your mind trained to consume. And my excuse is I have this live stream, so I have to consume. So let's check out this video out of the UK. There was a hospital with a long waiting time. A lot of patients couldn't be seen in a reasonable time span. And I think we know why. And I think you know why too. Let's take a look. Let's fast forward. So this is the hallway. A lot of people are not doing any work. They're holding mops. And they're just watching, again, not doing any work. Now, these are the nurses and the medical staff. These are the heroes that we were told by the media.
That's why we've been waiting so long.
Okay, the mops are out. Nurses have mops. That's weird. What are they cleaning? No. They're doing a TikTok.
I'm like, am I really?
There it is. Oh, look at that beautiful choreography. What a joke. What a joke. The West is dead. So it was at the end. They had a choreographed routine using mops while people were waiting for healthcare. I mean, so just quit your job then. If you don't want to be a nurse, if you want to do choreographed stupid things for social media likes, then do it. Become an Instagram influencer full time. I mean, I don't know. This is why I don't buy that stuff. You know, the more that the media says someone is a hero, it's probably the opposite is true. Usually even the media can't get the weather correct. If they can't get the weather correct, then I don't trust them with anything else. But you still must wear the mask. Now, here's a different kind of useful idiot. These are the useful idiots of Bill Gates. These are the ones who believe all his experts, his hired experts and scientists and his goons, telling you that you're going to die if you don't wear a mask. You're going to kill other people. So here you have a mob of people wearing a mask chasing out those who don't. So yelling, get out, get out. You're not wearing a mask. You don't believe the lies.
Get out.
So, okay, now the picture that's being painted, we got the oligarchs at the top squeezing down and the useful idiots at the bottom, whether they're the rioters that are black, whether the white face mask, the liberals, Antifa, whatever you have, it pushing us from the bottom, squeezing us. You're like, oh, I just want to breathe. So this is how the strategy works. You get squeezed from the top and the bottom. So here's a video that went viral this week. It was a woman, she was giving a media interview about wearing masks, and then something happened. Let's take a look. Okay.
I feel as if masks
Here's a woman
are not 100%
with a dog
important. I feel as if
masks.
if you want to...
Sorry to interrupt.
What?
A spontaneous kiss from someone that she doesn't know.
It's like rape. Wait, this isn't sexual. Why is she smiling? She just got assaulted.
Oh my God. No, I met him for a second with my dog. That's insane.
Are you all right?
Yeah, he's so hot.
Wait. Hold on. So I believe in the Me Too movement where without a woman's consent, you can't touch her, can't kiss her, can't fornicate. That was assault. That's what I was told. But yeah, she was gleaming, smiling, because he was hot. So wait, but I'm confused. Are you telling me that sexual assault is subjective, and that one thing a man can do is awesome and full of arousal, but if another man does it, it's rape and deserves prison? But objectively, they did the same thing. How can we say this? So who gets to decide whether he goes to jail or not? Oh, the feelings of the woman and how attractive she is. So the rule of law, I mean, is another inversion. I mean, now we're just lost in them. Is that a man's is guilty or not, depending on, for the same act, depending on if the woman felt attraction. You know, when I was in the game life, that's what I taught. I taught men how to be seen as the attractive guy. But if we break down what happened, he actually day gamed her. So this is a park. He approached her. He ran some game, and she liked him, which is common. But without her consent, he just came and kissed her so boldly. I mean,
feel as if you want to...
Sorry to interrupt.
A spontaneous kiss from someone that she doesn't know.
And that guy kind of does he look like me a little bit? Hold on, let's see. Okay, let's get the framing correct. Well, kinda. Maybe me without a beard. He's not that hot, but I don't know. I am not a girl, but look at this girl. I mean, she is, okay. Unfortunately, this is not a woman who's ready for the married life. She is a dopamine slave. This girl is using dopamine to pick her sexual partners. If you can spike her dopamine, which is what game did. Game made women feel this temporary boost of dopamine because maybe you were attractive, or you spit a good game, you were cocky, you were bold, something. So she's following her dopamine, but I think we know she should not sleep with that guy. She probably already did. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, or she flaked on him because another guy that she liked came through on the Tinder. But if you're a woman and you use this feeling to chase, to pick your guys, you will get pumped and dumped nonstop. Pumped and dumped. He's going to pump you and dump you nonstop. But it felt so right. He was so hot, and he was so confident the way he kissed me. Yeah, you're going to be that 30-year-old woman in the supermarket yelling at others to put on their face mask because your life is so full of anger and bitterness. Don't follow dopamine. Don't be a dopamine slave. This girl is a dopamine slave, and the man is too. But focusing on her, she is a dopamine slave, and she is going to get pumped and dumped for a long time. Nothing is going to take that slavery away from her, the dopamine slavery, the addiction to lust, and the addiction to her passions, besides Jesus Christ. That's the only way. That's the only way it happened to me. She's going to be enslaved to it. Only God can take away such a deeply entrenched slavery, which a lot of us born in this totally corrupt modern world has some kind of vice that's so big. Could be alcohol addiction, could be lust like me, could be greed. A vice so big that our own willpower cannot even begin to scratch the surface against it, that you need God to help you. So the sooner the better. She can be redeemed, of course, he can too, but the more time, the longer you stay in that dopamine addiction, the bigger pit that you dig, the more time that you waste. Ask me how I know that. And the funny thing is, I don't have the links. Where's the links? Long story short, there was this total outrage on Twitter saying, don't they, actually, I think I can find it. Hold on. It's on the forum. Give me 1 second. Let me find these links. Okay, here's one. So the media actually apologized. So they apologize for airing the non-consensual kiss. We are sorry that we aired something where the woman was enthralled in passion and she was really happy. So that's where things are, So yeah, she liked it. She was happy that it actually happened, but we have to apologize. And there was a little bit of outrage, some tweets. Let me see if I can find these or if they're gone. Here we have one commenter saying, Sean, and this was the guy who filmed, Sean, are you aware that this video is depicting sexual assault? Yeah, are you going to let the girl who got kissed know? And here is another one, looks like another female. Spontaneous kiss is an interesting way to describe an assault. And the thing is, that girl is going to go home so excited. Oh, this hot guy kissed me. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to go on a date with him and so on. And then she looks on the news like, sexual assault? I was assaulted. They're right. Twitter is right. I was assaulted. So when he texts her back with his cocky game, she's going to be like, you assaulted me. I'm calling the police. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got blocked. If she went home like, maybe the world is right. Could my feelings be wrong? Yeah, they can, and the world is right. I was a victim. Now she's going to go around the lecture circuit in the next 10 years saying how she was a Me Too victim. So unfortunately, it's weird. You have a woman doing something that she shouldn't do. So that's one layer of sin. And then you have the false accusation on top of that from the media, from the mob. That's another layer of sin. So now the girl is just confused, of course, because if you're not with God, you're going to be confused. You're going to be tossed this way and that by the mob, by the media, by the authorities that are unjust. Man, just think if you're that guy and, maybe you were in a cold streak, you are a fornicator, let's say. You are a fornicator, and this is what you do. You try to get laid. And that's what I did for a long time. And you were on some kind of cold streak. Man, I haven't gotten laid in 3 months, bro. Don't worry, Roosh, you'll get laid again because you need the sex. And then you go to the park, man, this coronavirus is blocking me, bro. I can't get laid. Everyone's wearing a mask. I don't know if she's good looking or not. And then finally, the park, people are opening up, and there's a girl who's not wearing a mask, and she's been home for months, and you go up to her with your bandana or whatever that guy had on. Hey, girl, man, do you know if there's a pet store around here? I'm looking for some dog chow for my pug, Arnold. And she's like, yeah, I have a dog too. Yeah, Arnold, he's cool. Huh? And then she's thinking, man, this guy is cool. I need to feel loved. I need to be sexually empowered. 'Cause my sex life is so important. And then the dude's like, how about I get your number? Why don't you just put it in right here on my telephone? And then she's putting it in. Ooh, we're going to go on a date and fornicate. And someone is at the door. What the heck is that? Who's at the door? Hold on. Show's over, guys. I was informed by the authorities. No, I'm just joking. Okay, I don't know who it was. God, that ruined my flow, man. I was painting a scene here. Whoever did that, they're watching me and they wanted to just block me like that guy got blocked. So anyway, she's like, yeah, I haven't had sex because my sex life is so important. And then she finds a hot guy. She's hot because that's what her value system is based on. The fact that she said hot, that's the number one thing that she looks for. That gives some credence to all the incels online who say that girls just want a hot guy. And was she hot? I don't know. I don't think she was hot, but anyway. And she finds it. And she goes home and is like, so excited, waiting for him. And then that load of, I got raped, I got sexual assaulted, and now the dopamine goes down, but it finds a new channel. Now the channel is, I was a victim. Now you get dopamine by sharing your sob story. And then this man with Arnold the pug, he came up to me without my consent. He kissed me. Oh. Okay, a little too much excitement today, Arnold. Go back in your cave, boy. You only come out when I tell you to come out. Good thing that people are watching me online, or what I just did is pretty crazy. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't mind commenting on male-female interactions and relationships because I was involved in that, but there's not a lot of that going on anymore. As you see, the rape psyop has come down a lot. The rape psyop is down. The racial injustice psyop is really high, and the corona pandemic fake plague psyop is high. So those two are the main go-tos at the moment. And I don't know, I think once Joe Biden was accused of rape, I think that killed the rape thing. I think the Me Too movement is dead because then they're going to talk about Joe. Creepy Joe. All right. So now, finally, 2 hours in, I got a white pill. I got a white pill for you guys out of Poland. So let me paint the scene in Poland. There was the gay marches in Poland get a lot of resistance from mostly the soccer hoodlums, but they have some notion of God, of their Catholicism. So it's not a completely secular type of protest against the gays, but there is, the soccer hoodlums there, they have a lot of masculine fight in them. So when they see gays trying to take over their towns and they see what happens in the USA, that's just the first step in grooming your kids for sexual pedophilia that becomes normalized through Disney and Netflix, then yeah, I think it's a good idea to try and stop it now. So let's take a look here. So these are the Polish men singing a chant. They're burning the gay flag. Just burned it down. Okay, now let's take a look at this. Here's a scene of a lot of police officers wearing riot gear and a woman holding her child in the middle of it. Why is she there? She brought her kid to a gay pride march to traumatize him with the gay. That's what it is. That kid shouldn't be there in peace or not. There's no reason to bring a child to a gay pride march unless you're trying to groom it to be molested by your gay best friend. I just don't see it. Why would you bring a child to any kind of march anyway, unless it's that Fight for Life march that happens every year that the Orthodox and I think the Catholics do, where you fight for life, a very peaceful thing, a spiritually based thing. But here you have going to a sodomite parade. You're taking your kid. So, okay. So, you know, something with this woman is very wrong. This is like Munchausen syndrome by proxy. You put your kid in a situation that gives it intense fear, and then you console him. Look how she's consoling him. Well, you created this. How about you remove him instead of standing there? Again, another kid. So you have a woman bringing another kid, and that kid has to hear the whatever is being launched, the firecrackers. Of course the kid is scared. And here you have a guy with a really big camera focusing on the kid, because that's going to go on the news. So you see this guy with the camera on the left. He's taking a picture of a crying kid. That's going to be the main photo of hoodlums attack child at gay pride march. That's how that game is played. Look at that. Man, look at it. He's going right for the kid. This is just, man. Maybe he works for CNN. There's no reason to bring kids there to be around sodomites. Okay, now you look at these men, pretty strong and built. I mean, not all of them, but they look normal. You know, I don't see any gay dude. This guy's kind of big, but you know, it is like a tribe yelling, right? Okay, strong, strength. They're burning the gay flag again. And now look at the gay side. Women who are pretty old, like you got the lesbians with the short hair. Here you have a man with man boobs. Here you have that, bent over hunch. They don't look healthy. Here you have another gay with a bowl haircut. His gay best friend is big. I mean, this unhealthy people. Totally unhealthy. You have a neck beard over there. You have some kind of autistic guy over here. You know, it's just unhealthy people. You know, he's jumping. Look at the guy. He's jumping. You know, these are going off non-stop. You shouldn't have to jump anymore. But this guy jumps. Oh, I'm scared. Firecracker. The police. Then you have power, strength. Get out of here. Get out of here, sodomites. We don't want your kind here. Power. Healthiness. Strength. I just keep saying the same words. Power. And you have some kind of altercation. Okay. So you get the point of this. So that's your white pill of the day. Not every country is like the United States. And let me ask you this. The scene that I just showed, do you think we can ever see that in the United States? I hope we do. Before I die, I just see a bunch of men shouting down the gays, "You will not pass. No more pee-pee in the poo-poo for you, sodomites." But no, we have to elevate them here. They're the stars. On the YouTube trending list, they domineer the trending list. James Charles, Jeffree Star, if you're a transvestite now, get a YouTube channel, you'll become a star. The CEO of YouTube will assure it. And me, well, I have to stream from the dregs. Only 1,000 people watching me. I'm a nobody, man. But as long as I speak the truth, that's okay with me. Right now, I want to show you a video from the animal kingdom. This video is I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's a little bit intense, but there's something I want to share about it. So a lion, he got lost. And this lion, he found his way into a pack of 20 hyenas. He was a young man. I'm going to put the sound off so I don't get dinged. So it's just a lion being a lion. He's a man. He's going to explore. He's going to leap. But he finds himself in enemy territory, 20 hyenas. And 20 against 1 are not good odds for our friend here. And, if he was a human being, I wonder what he would be thinking now. Just this is it. Surrounded by 20 enemies who want to kill me, who want to eat me. I'm finished. But let me see if I can take out a couple of them before I die. Now, a lion probably doesn't think like that. I don't think. He just goes based on impulse, but still. So what is going to happen to him? So you see the hyena's like, oh, we have a tasty meal today. A big, juicy meal. And the lion's face, I mean, you can almost see the concern on it, the dread. They get closer to him. And they go in. One thing about what the hyenas do, because they're such cowards, they bite the rear end. They try to get you from the back. And the lion gets in a couple hits. And when he bites the hyenas cry out in pain. Does that remind you of anyone who attacks you first, and then when you attack back, they cry out in pain? It doesn't look good. So notice how he sits down to protect his bottom. What is he going to do? There's no way he can guard his rear flank and attack at the same time, because when he attacks, they just bite him. So it looks really bad. And he gets bit a lot, but he doesn't give up. He just... So he has a friend, another male lion who is in his group, I guess. Here's what is going on. And here's his friend. I guess he's staring down. So why would this male lion sacrifice his life to, his friend is gone, is dead. To sacrifice my life for another lion? He's not even my son, not my wife. And this lion it's not doing good here. But the friend starts to move closer and closer, and just when hope is lost, let me show this part. The other lion comes, and immediately the hyenas leave. Now, what's very interesting is that 20-on-1, the hyenas thought that they could win, but you just bring one other lion, and they just give up. They just stop. They don't even try, because now the lions can go back to back, and they can attack without getting bit. So that's why only two changes the game totally. Now, the touching part is how the male lion shows his appreciation to his other friend for saving his life. Let's take a look. Oh. Thank you, friend. You saved me, man. I owe you. It's okay, bro. Don't worry about it. I know you would get my back too. That was a touching thing. So the moral of that story is, if you are trying to fight the world, don't go it alone. Don't think because you have a couple guns and you have a couple months of food and you have a house somewhere that you can fight the world. No, you cannot. Just having one more friend, just having some community that you're a part of makes the difference between a fight that you're going to lose and a fight that you automatically win. So I know it's tempting. We have all the knowledge. I have my guns and I know how to stay safe. I know what's going on in the world. I know what the oligarch tricks are. I know where the looters are going to come from. You're going to get this false sense of security that you know that you can fight yourself, but I would say that's a foolish thing to do. If you think if you have a family, you need to defend. For me, it's not. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. But if you have a family to defend, meet other like-minded men who see the world in the same way as you, and start to build a relationship. Don't go it alone. That is the worst thing that you can do. I mean, that's something that for me, I don't plan to fight the world. I plan to escape from the world, and I was doing a good job. I was in the mountains, but unfortunately, I got thrust back into hell. Oh well. Okay, now let's there's a touching video I saw. Maybe some of you are seeing the world go so evil, and you're like, well, Christianity is dead. The Christians, they gave up. The Christian beliefs in the United States have become so corrupted, so materialistic. The Christians are of the world totally. They want their prosperity gospel. They want their rewards today. They don't want to bear their cross. Well, if you read your Bible, you know that God saves the remnant. There is a small proportion of Christians that will maintain the true faith, and God will help them endure being surrounded by just heathens. And there's one example I think I found on some young people in Russia who live in a village, not in St. Petersburg or Moscow to have fun. They live in a village and they're living a simple Christian life. And here is a video that they put out. Oh, wait, hold on. I think you need to see it first.
Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon воскресе!
Воистину воскресе!
Great. You can go follow them at Ulema Folk. So don't worry about Christ in the sense of what's going to happen to all the Christians. Oh, the Christians already know what they have to do. Worry about yourself. Worry about your own faith in Christ now. God doesn't need us. We need him. Don't worry about there's not enough Christians. There's not enough of us. Don't worry about that. God's plan is perfect. God's plan is perfect. Just worry about yourself. And when I see this, I'm very touched because a lot of people, they hope that there's going to be a revival, a Christian revival. Look, Roosh converted. Look, Kanye West converted. Look, this person converted. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice when you see that because it's like your team is putting up some points on the scoreboard. But you read your Bible, you see how this ends, how this age ends, and it's going to be ugly. When Christ comes back, will he find the faith? So you know the faith has to go down. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And many people, commentators, are talking that we're getting there. We're getting to the end times. And I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it currently. But it's seeming biblical. I'm telling you, we just need a natural disaster or two to really seal that in. But really, the focus is on you. Get your faith as strong as you can get it. And what an opportunity when you're home for a couple of months due to the lockdowns or you lost your job and you're in dire straits. What an opportunity for you to reach out to God to help me. And the time you have to read the Bible or to watch videos and podcasts. So I think use this time, this turbulent time for your own spiritual benefit. Because if the world comes back, it's going to be busy, busy, busy again. You have to go out, party, you're in work 10 hours a day and on and on. But this I see as a spiritual opportunity for a lot of people who don't or who are not close to God currently. Don't just sit home, watch YouTube and the riot footage. Just watch my live streams and that's it. So we're getting to the end where I'll do some super chats. Just want to share two more things. I was finishing up on the Desert Fathers. This is a good book. Just wanted to read two little quotes from it. So really what the Desert Fathers is, it's a book of what I would call Christian wisdom. It's just kind of, a lot of people in the West really flock to Eastern Buddhism and, the wisdom out of that. But Christians have their wisdom too. So just check out the Desert Fathers and let me read these two. The first one. A hermit said to a brother, "The devil is like a hostile neighbor and you are like a house. The enemy continually throws all the dirt that he can find into your house. It is your business to throw out whatever he throws in. If you neglect to do this, your house will be so full of mud that you will not be able to get inside. From the moment he begins to throw it in, put it out again, bit by bit, and so with Christ's help, your house will remain clean." Unfortunately, Satan will not stop. He will not stop. He will change tactics on you to corrupt you. That's what he's done on me. He tries one avenue. He floods you with this corruption. Doesn't work. Then he gives you a break, and then he floods you with another one. As long as you are alive on this earth, you are going to have to fight him. And the moment you think you're finished, I did it, in the sense of I'm going to have smooth sailing now. That is not what the Orthodox Church teaches. Okay, and the second one. A hermit said, "When the donkey's eyes are covered, it walks round the mill wheel. If you uncover its eyes, it will not go on walking in the circle. So if the devil succeeds in covering a man's eyes, he leads him into every kind of sin. But if the man's eyes are uncovered, he can more easily escape." So when I was committing the sin of fornication, when I was that guy on the lawn approaching women with my tongue out of my mouth, hoping to get laid, I was blind and could see this was it. This is the only life for me, getting laid and making money out of it. And then you take that blindness out and it's like, I was an idiot. And for people who say Roosh couldn't have gone from that life to the Christian life so quickly. Yes, you can. I mean, that's the only transformation that exists is the transformation through Jesus Christ. That's the only one. Your diet transformation, you quit coffee transformation, that's compared to this. But you were blind, you had scales, now you can see, and you just exhale like, ugh. Dang, I did all that for that long. And if that hasn't happened to you, if Christ hasn't come into you, you won't get it. Roosh is faking it. Roosh is a grifter. Roosh is just grifting to buy a live stream computer. That's why he's doing all of this, to get a faster computer. But, I can talk about it all day, but until it happens to you, and for some of you who are watching, it has already happened. And for some of you that are on the fence, well, you have to humble yourself a little bit more. You have to rely less on yourself and your own puny powers, less on the world to give you the pleasures and the satisfactions, the health, the material goodness that you deem is what you need. But one piece of advice I can give to people, whatever you feel you lack in order to get closer to God, ask Him. If it's through prayer, if it's through finding a church, God, help me. Which church should I join? And pray to Him every night, whatever you feel that you lack. And if you pray for a while and He doesn't really answer, it's probably you're asking the wrong thing. So that's what I would try. And last thing I want to share before we get into the super chats is the article of the week that I wrote on my blog, rooshv.com. And now my sight on a 4K monitor looks kind of off. No, see how the ends are cut off? Yeah, that's better. So the article this week is titled, Only God Can Find You a Good Wife. And I'll read the first paragraph only. And it says, for nearly 2 decades, I believe that game, in other words, pickup, was the best method men could use to find a wife. All a man had to do was master the art of seduction, interact with hundreds or thousands of women, sleep with many of them, and then, as if by magic, one good woman will fall in love with him through statistical probability, and then he will live happily ever after. This belief was a result of incredible deception. My game efforts blocked the likelihood of a strong pair bond more than not. Now that I'm not running any game or approaching women at all, but serving God instead of the false god of game, my chances of marriage are infinitely higher. And I go on to say how men are like, well, if I can't date, if I can't walk up to random girls, I'm never going to get married. It's impossible because women want to date and women want to fornicate and they want to prove their sex partners before marriage, and I have to jump through hoops and do just what they want to do. Well, good luck with that. Because you're going to find a woman just like that man kissed in the park after he dumps her and she's still craving, I need dopamine, I'm getting older, I need a parachute, someone to save me. And then here you come along, you give her a sufficient dose of dopamine and she feigns that she's a good woman, and there that you have it. Personally, I would not marry a woman who is not strong in the faith. That's just me. That's where I am going. But if you're a secular man, then you don't have that to go by. So you're going to think, how many notch partners does she have? Okay, she's 30 and she started getting laid at 16. Oh boy, that's 14 years. And yeah, she's only been with 0.2 guys a year. So, that isn't that bad then. If she's only been with 0.2 guys, that's 3 notches. Phew, I can marry her. I mean, that's what guys are doing. Guys are using these, very arbitrary standards is she going to destroy my life? She's thin and claims she's been with 3 other guys. Yeah, she's good. Oh, man. And you wonder why the divorce rate is as high as it is. I'm surprised it's not higher. But if you want to see what I have to say about that, go to rooshv.com. Okay. All right, let's do some super chats. What do you guys think of the quality of the new computer Probably you see the quality is a little bit better in the video, but really for me, it's switching around, like playing you videos. I can do full screen and stuff. So on my end, just the back end is really fast. And I have a 1.2% CPU that is being used. I think I can do some Skype interviews now with people without it being all like the video and audio being out of sync. I mean, this is so fast. It's like, wow. So thank you to everyone who has given me super chats that has allowed me to buy this. I spent maybe about, if you include the monitor, which I didn't have, I spent about $1,600 to $1,800. So it wasn't a cheap thing. Okay, now let's go look at more super chats. All right, I'm loading them now, so please hold. Okay. All right, let's start from the beginning. Jitender Bishnoi donated 100 yen. Thank you. He says, will not try to miss this one. Am I... Okay. Josh Ryan donates $10. He says, blaming blacks for these riots is addressing the symptoms as opposed to the underlying cause. These riots are organized and funded by the organizations that promulgate racial hatred and degeneracy. So he left the super chat before the stream, but yeah, I got into that. So blacks are an essential element of the riots, but yeah, they are not the cause of it. He also donates $5. He said, perhaps the silver lining is that the riots will expose social distancing and masks as a hoax when there's no spike in disease despite massive riots. You know, unfortunately, I think I went to Target today. I actually looked for the whiteboard. So I looked for this high-tech whiteboard at Target, and I was in the store without a mask, and the security guard saw me, and he came up to me, but in a nice way, he asked me to put on the mask. So unfortunately, the law still stands. So the rioters don't have to social distance, don't have to wear the mask. You don't see any cops saying, "Oh, you're not social distancing. We have to lock you up or give them a citation," but you have to continue to wear it. So you see this selective enforcement, which is another reason why people don't like cops. I don't like cops because of, you know, the way they enforce, who they enforce for. But I'm not at the stage where I'm saying I will disobey and I will break the law. I'm not there. I don't have to like them. But as of now, if a cop tells me to abide by the law, I will. Mike Vidiello donates $5. He says, have you listened to any of the sermons from Derek Prince? If so, what do you think of him? And also, would you do mushrooms again? Derek Prince, no, I've never heard of him. The mushrooms, no, I won't do them again. You know, since my experience, I've read some more stories, and it seems like my case is atypical. A lot of people go down this pantheistic route, this occult type of route when they do drugs like that, do these hallucinogenic drugs. So I think I lucked out, and I'm not going to tempt fate. Dino Legovich donates $2. He says, man dies, therefore steal. I don't know what that means. William Francis donates $3.99. He says, are you bearing witness that he actually died? He wasn't capitalized. Who are you talking about? Oh, I think he was talking about George. Oh, okay. He's talking about George Floyd, if George Floyd actually died or not. Okay. Well, if he didn't die, I would need to see some kind of evidence that he is not dead. Sunstate 88 donates $3. Smalley Biggs donates $5. He says, I'm a new viewer. I have been agnostic for a long time. I have been recently looking into orthodoxy. I was raised Protestant. Any tips for converting? Thanks. Yeah, there's 2 churches, if you're in the United States, that I recommend. The first is the OCA, the Orthodox Church in America. And you can click on the parishes. And the other church I recommend is the Antiochian Church. And if I had a choice, I would probably lean towards the Antiochian Church. I don't trust American institutions that much, but they are fine. There is no problem. You know, there is nothing wrong with them. But personally, I would look at the Antiochian church. And if go to a service on Sunday, once they open up, then talk to the priest after that. That's what I would do. Of Aaron C. donates $10. He says, joggers loot when the opportunity is there, but all the vandalism fires in all the cities were started by Antifa. Every description was white people dressed in black with black packs. I saw it all. Yes, I agree with that. Even my mom, she noticed it. So what the Antifa, they are the kindle, and the black people are the logs that burn it down. Smalley Biggs donates $5. He said, I get that I should focus on God and not women. However, I have 2 tattoos. Would this prevent me from getting a good woman? Would that scare them off? Well, the more that you've lived a worldly life and repented, then the more that you're going to be matched by God with a woman who did the same. So if you have a couple of scars, let's say, and you have to forgive a woman for having scars too. So don't expect a virgin raised in the Russian village beautiful. I mean, you know, the boat has sailed for men like us in terms of that. But I wouldn't get into the micro of it, because you don't have the faith yet. So you're in the, well, if I have 2 tattoos and this many partners and this and my age is this, so you're kind of caught up in the materialistic qualifications. Don't worry about that yet. Just focus on your faith for a while, a year or two, then you can start to focus on women after that. As Bill Sees It Bear donates $5, he says, do you think the riots are all by design and the system loves our attention to chaos? Yes, I did answer that after you left that, and the answer is yes. Vince Jansen donates $5. He says, happy to be on the right side of the battle of Logos versus the tractors. Yes, we are on the right side. Lesbian Towel donates $2. He says, the rioter isn't a cop. It's been verified. Okay, well, you could leave a link. She's, I think, referring to that suspicious white guy bashing in the AutoZone windows. Could be. Corey Busby donates $19.99. He says, appreciate your live streams. You have an organic ministry that reminds us of peace and clarity in a time of chaos and deception. I'm peacefully watching birds in a time when metropolises are burning. What kind of birds are you watching? I'm a little bit curious about that, but thank you. Sun State donates $5. Roosh YouTube setup. Someone set up a pile of bricks in the midst of a riot to fuel the fire. I saw that. I don't know if it's true or not, but yes, there was a pile of bricks suspiciously placed next to a glass building in Dallas, Texas. Fabio donates Hey Eyes 50. Thank you, Fabio. Lee Dyson donates £5. He says, thanks once again. Here's some shekels for a larger whiteboard. What? You don't think my whiteboard is big enough? Josh Ryan, whiteboard is a 10 out of 10. Thanks. Sal's Kitchen donates $14.99. Continue to get this word out to all who have ears to hear. I'm trying. Alex Hutchins donates $5. He says, do you have a recommended reading list or walkthrough instructions to convert to Orthodoxy? I am a Roman Catholic. I would like to convert this year. Yeah. Let me see what I can find for you. Give me a second. So I have one site, one blog articles on my blog, which kind of served as a catechism for me in some ways. So do a search for this, 40 Christian articles I highly recommend. And you'll see 40 articles that will take a long time to read. It's kind of like a book. And there was another a book. I forgot the name. But I would start with that first. So start with this, and then you can drop me an email for the book name. I don't actually. Do I have it here? I do have it here. You are in luck. Here is the book. So this is called The Orthodox Faith, Worship, and Life by Hieromonk Gregorius. It's not a popular book, but I picked this up at a monastery. And this basically gives a brief, not so brief, but an overview of the Orthodox faith. But if you're Catholic, I just have to warn you that there's a couple of passages that say Catholics are wrong here. So just keep that in mind. You know, me, I'm not too big on debating theological issues. I just try to find common ground. But I would say read that article, the list, and check out that book. And it should kind of give you what you need to know, and then you can start going to an Orthodox church. Okay, next up. Silverchair donates 50 Canadian. Thank you. Josh, why is pedophilia so rampant amongst the elites? Because those above them need a way to control them, and there's no blackmail like pedophilia blackmail. So that's what the theory is. Also, you know, those who want power want to feel power in all its corrupt ways, and having power over children in a sexual way is a craving for power. It's horrible, but unfortunately, those who want to lead others, want to dominate others, they do things such as that. Tom S. donates $5. He says, it's psychological warfare in effect. KGB defectors warned about this, particularly Yuri Bezmenov. Yes, I wrote about him too. Let me show you. So if you do a Google search for Roosh Yuri, you will find it. Let's take a look. Or not, Google DuckDuckGo is what I use. So here I have an article. Soviet defector Yuri Bezmenov accurately predicted how America would decline. I wrote this in 2016. It's all come true. And here I give an overview of what he was talking about. So you can actually, I'll paste it in the chat now so you can see it there. Actually, no, I don't have the chat window open. Anyway, actually, yes, I do. It's here. All right, so check out that. And they actually, YouTube took down one of the videos, but if you look under here, there's an alternate link down there on BitChute, and let's see if it works. I think it is BitChute down. No, here it is. Yeah, so you can watch it here. Okay. Christopher J. donates $10. He says, I have taken to praying for the elites to turn away from their evil ways. Appreciate you, Roosh. God bless. Yes, I do that too, you know, and at first it's hard to do it, but you know that there's no other way. I mean, they're not going to see the light by you yelling at them and, you know, saying, oh, you're horrible, Bill Gates. You're an enemy of the people. You're evil. Yeah, okay. But I think he knows that. That's why he's doing it. So, you know, pray. So if you pray for these people, ask God to soften their hearts, to have human compassion, not to fulfill their evil plans, not to serve the will of the evil one. And maybe not every day, but at least once a week. Okay. Dino donates, says, buy some Gillette razors. What are you saying? You saying I have to shave? Of Aaron C. donates $5. He says, try living with joggers on a Navy ship. You will struggle to sleep through obnoxious talking, sports arguments, and you will wake up to trap music. I believe that. Yeah, they are loud. You know, black people are loud. That's just how it is. Okay, Leo the Great donates $10. He says, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of the womb of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Amen. The Orthodox also pray to Mary, to our Blessed Mother. Josh Ryan donates $5. He says, are the oligarchs non-human entities that feed off evil energy, like what David Icke says? You know, I don't buy that. I think they feed off of the evil energy, but you don't need to be a shapeshifter to do that. I think you know a guy who lives down the street from you that probably does it. So David Icke, I just get confused about him because I like what he says, and then he takes a leap, like he says a bit of truth, and he takes a leap that is hard for me to grasp, and you know, and I don't know. So with him, you have, I have to keep my mind on, like, what can I agree with and what is out there that I think more evidence would be needed. Corey Busby donates $9.89. He says, it's a perfect storm for riots with impressionable kids out of school and university early. Prisoners released early too. Citizens tired of quarantine and their longing to be around others. Is this civil unrest by design? So one thing, when a man like me says that the riots are planned, it doesn't mean everyone is being paid. You only need the kindling to be paid. So it could be, to get the Minneapolis riots going, maybe you needed only 50 to 100 people or less. I don't know. I've never tried to orchestrate a riot. I'm just guessing. But you probably don't need that many people. So if you have 75 to 100 people that are paid for a couple of nights and who believe, I mean, they are part of the system. They believe in what they're doing. They want the riots because they believe in the racial injustice. You get things going, and then the hope is that the blacks follow them. That's what the hope is. So, yeah, it seems to be, if there's chaos involved, if there's death, if there's a potential for depopulation involved, if there's a potential for further dividing the races and the sexes, yeah, I mean, an oligarch is not far away. Ben Jones, he donates $2. He says, no physical intimacy until marriage. I agree with that 100%. TUSA donates $10. He said, great show. Also, probably not your last black listener. Thank you, Jeff. But if, whether you're black or white, and you think I've gone too far, I've crossed the line of, maybe joke or commentary, please get in touch with me. Because, when you do a live stream, you're saying what comes to your mind. And unfortunately, sometimes you do cross the line. I think in this show, I'm just stating facts. I didn't cross the line. I didn't spread hatred or anything. It's not because I don't want to be seen as a racist by the world, but I want to treat other people well in the Christian sense, as Jesus tells me to. So I don't want to just attack people, condemn, to accuse them, but so that line for me is a little bit tough. But if you think I've crossed it, please let me know. Incel donates $2. He says, girls can buy your PC with 1 day's OnlyFans work. That's true. Like me, I had to save up, man. I'm calculating, when can I buy my live streaming rig? 8 weeks of super chats. That sucks, dude. Now, of course, now watch me get banned by YouTube, once I get the rig. Okay, Red Pathfinder donates £5. He says, E. Michael Jones is incredibly well-informed and explains Christianity better than anyone I can think of. But then he says race is a social construct. I can't speak for him. I have seen that a lot of people don't agree with him on the race issue. Then listen, you don't have to agree with someone on everything. You don't have to agree with me on everything. I'm not God, and Dr. Jones isn't God too. We're going to have a blind spot. I think God assures that so we don't have our pride get too high. But okay, so you don't agree with him on that. But that doesn't negate the rest of his stuff. He is with God. He does his work, I believe, in the name of God, to serve God, to spread the truth. So in your opinion, he gets one thing wrong. Okay, so what? And there's no way that I'm going to get everything correct either. Okay, Fireman 12S donates $10. He says, I am no longer in Yosemite. You need to come to New Jersey. I'm in a national park here. Lots of birds to watch. Ospreys, gulls, sparrows, grackles, and plovers, among others. The plovers are awesome. I'll contact you. Okay, so I know who this guy is. Great. But yeah, you didn't sell it to me when you said Jersey. Ugh. Mike Vitilio donates $5. He says, can't wait to listen to this on my lawnmower tomorrow. God bless you, Roosh. Ephesians 6:10-11. Let's see what that is. Ephesians 6. Okay, Ephesians 6:10-11. Let's take a little read here. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Amen. Okay, and Jessica Gore says, "Hi Roosh, would you ever do a live stream with Stephen Bancars? He gave up his career as a New Age influencer after converting to Christianity." I haven't heard of him, but maybe you can send me an email of his work and I will take a look. Thank you. Josh Ryan, how often do people ask you if you are Jesus? They don't ask me, and I'm glad. I'm not trying to look like Jesus, but if I grow my hair out and my beard. This is how I look like. Unfortunately, I blasphemed God a long time ago when I had one Halloween. So I was around 25. I had a Jesus costume, and it's on the internet somewhere. But that's not something that I would do now. But I did it in stupidity. Okay, is there any comments you have in the chat? I can take a couple more questions, and then we are done here. Let me clean. If you ask me a question that involves the whiteboard, that would be cool. My brain, I think I'm as excited about the whiteboard as I am with my live stream rig. But it's kind of hard to do it. I would need, it's awkward to hold it. All right. Okay, Nerd Who Lifts says, Roosh, be honest. Game. If you have no physical intimacy until marriage, won't the woman think you're a beta? If she's secular, yes. If she's a woman who is secular, who is dating, yeah, totally. She's going to think you're some kind of chump. That here, she got to bang all these dudes, not repent, not admit she did the wrong thing, not admit that she sinned before God, not beg him for forgiveness, not have to worry about her salvation. And here some guy comes ignoring the calculations. But if God is in her life and is genuine, it's different. Because why would a Christian girl even come close to me? I was an odious man, horrible. And it's not like, I'm not coming from the angle where, I had my fun now, I'm done with my fun now, I'm ready to marry. It's not that. I had my fun, I destroyed myself, I hurt people, I steered tens of thousands of men in the wrong direction. I feel horrible about it, and I beg God to cleanse me from that. So there's a difference between a backup plan and repentance, a huge difference. I mean, when someone repents, they completely change. I mean, if you've been following me for a couple of years, you know how I've changed. It's complete change, complete. But someone who's trying to ease in from one lifestyle to another, there's no change really. Yeah, I would have still been a fornicator at heart. I would have still lusted after a woman. I would have seen my wife, let's say, as an amusement for my sexual gratification because I'm still enslaved to my passions. There's no repentance in that. There's no change. So yeah, do I advise a Christian man to pluck a secular woman who is 35 and been with 100 dudes and marry her? No, and I've never said that. But if she's a Christian and her faith is genuine, then that's something that you and your priest and your family can talk about if this is a good pair bond. So it's a little bit different. We're not working with attraction anymore. We're working by faith. And if you don't have the faith, you're just not going to get it. And that's okay. And I hope that someday that you see what I am talking about. But if you don't have God in your life, how can you understand it? Josh Ryan talked, where is Elon Musk on the globalist scale? I think he's like a mini oligarch. He's under Soros and Gates. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of money. A lot has been tasked to him to, operate. But I think he's lower on the scale. And I saw in the past couple of weeks, Musk was about take the real red pill. It's like he's fighting the elites, but isn't he also developing a chip that attaches to your brain? I'm not too confident about him. So I'd be a little bit hesitant before seeing him as some kind of savior. Roosh, where do you put China on the board? one thing I can say is that China and Bill Gates are very tight. Their agenda is almost the exact same from the perspective of human control. I believe China is closer than the current government is closer to the spider than Donald Trump is. You know, all the countries that are in the BIS, the the Bank of International Settlements, are under the spider. This is the central bank of central banks. So if you're in the BIS, you're in the spider's web, just like Putin is too. But you could get a Trump-like figure who's not on board with all the agenda that the spider has and has some power to actually do things that could hurt the spider. But right now, China and Bill Gates, they're one, and they're more connected with the spider's agenda. But again, it's hard to say for sure. You know, we don't know. It's all a guess. So I'm just telling you what I think. But really, it's who do you see is having an agenda that is aligned? And if the agenda is aligned, then you know something is going on there. They have some kind of relationship. Okay. We have a couple more super chats. Lemon Boy donates $5. He says, what do you suppose a black Orthodox Christian like me can do who wants to help and fix the black community? I would say first fix yourself, get your faith to where it has to be. Then once you fix your faith, start to lead by example to those who are close to you, your family, and to your friends. So even if you just do that, you can still affect a lot of people, and you can affect the salvation of a lot of people. But to repair a race of people that have been, you know, treated in a certain way that causes them to be like this today over decades, you know, is that something that you can do? If you have a billionaire sugar daddy who can put you in the head of some kind of nonprofit, then yeah, but I don't know. You know, that seems kind of hard. And the way I reach people, I do a live stream. I try to be a good example for those who are close to me. But what you're asking to save a race of people where really powerful people have an interest in keeping them as the proxy warriors of their plan, that's tough. That's tough. Saint Maurice Bear donates, says Catholics and Orthodox must work together. I agree totally. On my forum, there's actually a section for Catholics, you know, of course on doctrine. The Orthodox don't agree with them on just about everything, but you know, that shouldn't stop me from having some level of fellowship with them. And I think more Catholics who are, out of all the Christians who read me, most are Catholics. So I want to make sure that I have a good bond with them, because I'm not going to be some kind of autist where, oh no, this doctrine is wrong, so I can't talk to you anymore, or, you know. All right, let's see if there's one more I can take. I'm getting tired. Okay, Miami Transmission says, Roosh, how can we stop the Bill Gates agenda? When will the pandemic end? Well, I don't think you can stop it totally. Again, the forces involved are very big. We have to be careful about trying to save the world. If God wanted the world to be saved, he would have done it a long time ago. He allows Satan to rule this world to test us, to give us the free choice whether to choose him or choose what the world is giving us, choose what the vaccines have. But as long as you say no for you and your kids to whatever poison Bill Gates is trying to inject you with, if you have kids, maybe homeschool them instead of sending them to the public schools. I think there's no better way to fight Bill Gates but to have healthy children that are not vaccinated and under the influence of this increasingly corrupt TikTok healthcare system. You just having kids, you know, I think could do a lot to fight him. But if you really want to fight Bill Gates, fight his boss, Satan. And the way to fight Satan is to save your soul through Jesus Christ. As for when the pandemic will end, well, this is the warm up. I hope you guys can see how this is going to be the warm up. And the bioweapon attack, who knows when that's going to come. It's going to be something that kills people. It's going to kill more people than the coronavirus did. People are going to be scared, very scared. They're going to want immediate vaccines that haven't been tested. But don't worry about these people. Don't worry about other people. Don't look at the mob. Don't look at the herd. Don't worry about the billions of people that don't care about God. Just focus on yourself and the remnant people who who care about saving themselves, saving those who are close to them. Okay. I'm tired, guys. This is it. We've gone 3 hours almost. Thank you again for the super chats. And just, be a little bit careful. And I say this to me, be careful focusing on the news and focusing on evil and stuff like that. There's still a lot of beauty to be had. I went to the park today. I saw a catbird, a cardinal, a couple of other birds. So there's still a lot of beauty. You can read some good books. Hopefully we can get out of the screen. I'm trying to get away from the screen. I bought a big screen, 4K monitor. But anyway. So thank you for watching again and the super chats, and hopefully we'll do this again soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.